guys, in this video I'm going to explain something somebody asked me a couple of weeks ago, and the question was, how do I get the average of the last three numbers in a specific column? So this guy's got like turnovers, and he wishes to have the average of the last three turnovers. And if he adds another turnover, let's say now if he puts in G and let's say another number, so then the average should not be of these three, but of those three. So that average should always move with every increasing row. How do I do that in Excel? Well, the first thing is we have to make Excel automatically find the last row. And that you do with a function called count A. What count A does, it counts all data in a specific column, regardless if that data is a number or text. So basically we call the function count A, and if you don't know where it is, if I'm not mistaken, it is in statistical. If you don't know where it is, you can always go overall, but I suspect it's in the statistical, and there it is. So, and I just select the whole column. So there it is, 8. So that means my last row is in row 8. My last data, my last turnover is in row 8. If I include another, if I just delete that, for instance, goes down to 7. Right. Now, row 7 is where my last data is. Now, where's my last turnover, in which cell? Basically B7. Now, how do I do that? Well, you can concatenate text. So basically what I say is like, just write a simple concatenation formula, equals B in quotations and then this one. So that means my last cell is in B7. If I add a new turnover, that means now my last row is in 8 and my last cell is in B8. Now where's the first cell? Well, first of all, how many that average that we wish to calculate, how many cells do we need? The last 3, the last 5, the last 10? You can put that number here. Let's say I'm interested in the last 3 turnovers. Okay, so basically then the first cell is that row minus 3, 5. But we actually need the 6. It's from 6 till 8, so 5 plus 1. Right? Now all we have to do is now concatenate that 6 to a B. So basically, again, I click in here, in quotations, B, and because here we have some calculation going on, it's advisable to have some parentheses in front and behind that calculation. And there you go. So basically, I now fixed a couple of things. My last row, my last cell, my first cell, and that first cell is dependent on the number of cells I'm interested in. If let's say I'm interested in the last 5 turnovers, voila, now it automatically takes this area. All right. Now we come to calculating the average. Before we calculate the average, let's calculate the average in a simple standard way. The standard way how you calculate average is you go here, you take statistical and average, and you select, let's say, the last 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. So that's the average that you got. But the problem is, if I add another cell here, that average doesn't change because that average is static. It is always going to be the average of B4 to B8. If a new cell comes in B9, that's not going to be taken care of here. So the average we're going to have is, first of all, there's a principle of there's a function called indirect. And indirect, now I have no idea where indirect is, so I have to pick it out over all, via all. And indirect is, let me see, GH indirect. There we go. What indirect does, it converts a text into a cell address. So basically this B9 here is not a cell per se, it's just a text, and we want to convert that into a cell. So basically what I do is click on that, and here you have two choices, either true or false. if you put true, that means that cell that you have here is basically goes along the lines of the normal cell addresses that we know, like B1, C3, D7, etc. There's the other types of cell addresses in Excel, namely you've got this column row address. For instance, R3 C7 means row 3 column 7. You know, so but basically we mainly work with the first type, basically with those E17, B9, A1 type of cell addresses. So what you do here is you put in true, and there you go. What that gives me is the value of the cell in B9. Okay, E3, that's the description of the cell, which is basically B9, and what it gives me the value of B9, which is basically that. Now, how do I write my average? Let's take the equals out of here. And if you see, the average function is very simple. It's basically the word average, brackets, open brackets, and then B, the first cell of that range, a colon, meaning 2, and then the last cell of that range, close brackets. Well, we already got our last cell. So what we need is basically, first of all, the word average, oops, open bracket. Where's my first cell? It is here. Again, I have to go into indirect, so indirect, open brackets, first cell, and then true again, close, so, and then colon. So basically, this is my first cell, colon, and there's my last cell, and then I close. Okay, and let's test if we got the same value. I'm just gonna delete that last value. You see, I've got the same average. This average is from B4 to B8, and this average is from B4 to B8. The difference is this average is gonna change once I add a new turnover. That average is going to change because that average now calculates from B5 to B9, whereas that one is still static, B4 to B8. Okay, so that's how you solve that problem. Now, while we're at it, we can also calculate the biggest value, the smallest value in that range, and the sum. And that's pretty easy because all these three functions are pretty identical to average. So what I do is just I copy that and then go in here, and I just change the word average to max. And that's the biggest value in that range, basically this one here. And here I paste it again, and this time I say min. And this time I get the smallest value in the range, and sum, basically identical, and guess what? The word in this case is sum. So that's the sum. So basically, and again, if I add a new turnover, no problemo. I got it. See, so it changes dynamically. And if I'm interested, like, you know, I'm not interested anymore in the last 5 turnovers, I just need the last 3, and bingo. That's how you solve that problem. And obviously there are more ways to solve that problem, like with VBA and stuff like that, but hey, I think this is the simplest way how to do it.